I hope you all are able to hear me and able to see my screen as well.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Let's begin. Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you're all doing well today. Before we dive into today's PD session, I would like to take a moment to acknowledge the land on which we are gathered. Imagine a time before the roads were paved, before buildings stood tall, when this land was covered with tall trees, clear waters, and the quiet strength of nature. This land was, and still is, the home of Anishinaabe people. For generations, the people of Nipissing First Nations have walked these paths, guided by the wisdom of their ancestors, living in harmony with the environment and honoring all aspects of creation as sacred. As I think about this history, I realize that my journey here is just a small part of a much longer story. Canadore College, where I work, learn, and connect with others, is located on this traditional lands with the Robinson-Huron Treaty of 1850. Acknowledging this is not just about recognizing a treaty, it's about honoring a relationship that has lasted for generations. To me, this land acknowledgement is more than just words, it's a commitment. It reminds me that every step I take here on this land that carries the memories and hopes of Anishinaabe people, it encourages me to engage with our shared history with respect, to listen carefully, and to build a future based on partnership and understanding. With that in mind, it's my privilege to be here today as Siddharth Ramani, the research coordinator at Canada Research Center. I'm honored to be here and share with you today about the importance of equity, diversity, and inclusion in research, a principle that guides the way we work and learn, and one that reflects our shared responsibility towards one another and the land we occupy. I would also like to acknowledge our Director of the Research Center, Dr. Christina DeRoche, for her leadership and commitment to fostering an environment that embraces inclusivity and innovation. I'm also deeply thankful to her for giving me this privilege to present this important topic to you all today. It is an honor to share this space and conversation, and I look forward to the many discussions that lie ahead. Thank you for being here today, and I look forward to our discussion on how we can all integrate EDI principles into research and beyond. As Matshona said, a garden's beauty never lies in one flower. Just like in a garden, the impact of our research comes from a variety of voices and perspectives we embrace. When we include people from different backgrounds, we not only improve the quality of our work, but also make sure that our research benefits everyone. When we talk about equity, diversity, and inclusion in research, we are really asking an essential question. How do we create a space where everyone feels empowered to contribute and thrive? These principles are not just abstract ideas, they are the foundation for achieving excellence in research and development. So here is a brief outline about what our presentation will be today on. So we will be first defining the equity, diversity, and inclusion principles. And then next we will talk about why does EDI matters in applied research. And then we will be going through a roadmap to integrate this EDI principles into our research, followed by the conclusion. Let's start with equity. Equity is about removing systematic barriers and biases that everyone has the same opportunity to access and benefit from the research ecosystem. However, equity doesn't indeed mean treating everyone the same. It means recognizing that not everyone starts at the same place. For example, let's think about the barriers faced by women, personnel with disabilities, indigenous peoples, racialized minorities, or individuals from LGBTQ plus community. To create real equity, we need to understand the systematic barriers and take meaningful steps to address them. This isn't just a box to check, it's the groundwork for creating a truly equitable covered environment. Let's now move to diversity. Diversity is about embracing and valuing differences, whether those are differences in race, ethnicity, gender, ability, religion, sexual orientation, or even lived experiences. These differences are just nice to have, they are vital. Diverse perspective enrich research. They fuel innovation. Imagine a research team where everyone brings their unique viewpoint. How much stronger and more impactful will that research be? Diversity challenges us to think differently, to approach problems from angles we might never be considered on our own. Finally, inclusion ties all of this together. If equity removes barriers and diversity brings new voices to the table, inclusion is what ensures that these voices are heard, valued, and supported. Inclusion is about creating a culture where everyone feels they belong and their contributions matter. It's not enough to simply invite people into the room. We have to make sure they have a seat at the table and their ideas are taken seriously. Inclusion transforms diversity from being just a statistic into a powerful drivers of success. So, when we think about equity, diversity, and inclusion, they are not separate concepts. They are deeply interconnected. Equity lays the foundation, diversity enriches the process, and inclusion ensures it comes together in a meaningful way. The question I want to leave with you today is in your work, in your teams, how can you actively foster equity, diversity, and inclusion? Because when we commit to these principles, we are not just advancing research, we are transforming lives. Let's dive into why equity, diversity, and inclusion matters so much in applied research. This isn't just about checking off a box. It's about fundamentally transforming the way we conduct research and the kind of impact we generate. Let's first talk about enhanced innovation. When you work with diverse teams, you bring people with different lived experiences, cultural perspectives, and the way of thinking. This diversity sparks creativity. For example, someone from a different cultural background might suggest a novel approach to a problem solving or interpret data in a way that opens up entirely new possibilities. These fresh perspectives can be game changing, pushing our research into groundbreaking territory. Next, consider the importance of broader impact. Applied research isn't just about generating knowledge, it's about making the knowledge meaningful and accessible to as many as possible. By incorporating the voices and the needs of different communities, we ensure that our findings are relevant to a wider community. Think of this way, if your research only speaks to a narrow group, how much are you truly accomplishing? Including diverse voices ensures that the outcomes of our work resonates more deeply across the society. Then there's a matter of ethical responsibility. At its core, research should be fair and equitable. When we fail to be inclusive, we risk perpetuating biases and overlooking groups that could significantly benefit from our work. This isn't just a matter of fairness, it's about doing the right thing. By prioritizing equity in how we design and conduct research, we ensure that no one is left unintentionally behind. EDI also improves research quality. Diverse perspective leads more rigorous, well-rounded analysis. When everyone in the room has similar backgrounds or worldviews, it's easy to overlook critical insights. A diverse team challenges assumptions, asks different questions, and ultimately delivers strong and more reliable outcomes. Let's not overlook the practical benefits too, specifically compliance and funding. Many funding agencies now require an EDI plan as a part of this research proposals. Inclusive projects are not just ethically sound, they are also strategically aligned with what funders prioritize. Plus, many institutions are placing greater emphasis on EDI as a core value, meaning research that embraces these principles is more likely to receive institutional support. Building community trust is another crucial aspect. When communities see themselves represented and respected in research, they are far more likely to engage with the process and trust the results. Imagine conducting a research in a health issue within a specific cultural group. If that research isn't culturally sensitive, how likely is that the community will participate or even believe in the findings? By working alongside communities, we foster strong partnerships, better data, and more impactful outcomes. Lastly, EDI ensures long-term sustainability. Projects that are inclusive Projects that are inclusive are inherently more adaptable and scalable. When research accounts for society's evolving needs, it stays relevant and impactful over time. And by embedding inclusivity in our work, we create solutions that can be applied to a larger scale, benefiting more people in the long run. Integrating EDI into applied research is more about just ticking boxes. It's not just nice to have, it's a must have for everyone who wants to conduct responsible and impactful research. So the question isn't why should we integrate EDI, but rather how can we afford not to? Incorporating EDI into research projects is not just a best practice, but essential for fostering socially responsible work. It aligns with the expectations of research funding organizations such as TRI Agency, which now requires researchers to demonstrate a commitment to EDI in every aspect of their proposal. To help you navigate this section of this presentation provides a detailed roadmap to guide you through integrating EDI principles effectively into your research. This slide here offers a high level overview of the critical steps involved. Each of these principles will be explored in detail in the upcoming slides with actionable steps and the best practices to help you integrate EDI effectively into your work. By following this roadmap, you will ensure that your research fosters inclusivity, addresses systematic barriers, and aligns with evolving expectations of funding agencies and, more importantly, society at large. Let's begin with the first one, which is building a diverse research team. A foundation of integrity a foundation of integrating EDI into your research. At its core, this step is about bringing people with different perspective, backgrounds, and lived experiences. Why? Because diversity enhances not only the innovation, but overall impact of your research. To achieve these, we need to prioritize diverse recruitment. This means actively seeking team members from groups that have been traditionally underrepresented in your field, such as women, indigenous peoples, individuals with disabilities, racial minorities, and members of LGBTQ community. Diversifying recruitment requires effort beyond traditional academic works. Think of reaching out to non-traditional institutions, community organizations, or specialized networks to find talent within the unique perspective. By assembling a diverse team is just a beginning. To truly leverage that diversity, we must foster an inclusive team culture. This involves creating an environment where every team member feels valued and has equal opportunities to contribute meaningfully. Open channels for feedback are essential, as is training on unconscious bias to help team members recognize and address their own assumptions. An inclusive culture ensures everybody's voice is heard and respected. To illustrate this, imagine you're working in a project based on mental health in rural communities, including someone on your team who comes from a rural background, particularly from an underrepresented group such as Indigenous or LGBTQIA plus communities can be transformative. Their lived experiences bring valuable insights that help identify blind spots and ensure your research is relevant and impactful for the populations you're studying. By building a team that reflects diversity and fostering a culture of inclusion, you're not just enriching the research process, you are setting the stage for the work that is more innovative, ethical, and meaningful for the communities it aims to serve. I would like to highlight one of our research projects here at Canada Research Centers, which name is Everybody's Stories, Perceptions of Home in the District of Nipissing. This project serves as an example how we apply the principles of EDI to address important societal changes. It aims to stand out for its collaborative approach, multidisciplinary engagement, and community-driven goals. By diversifying the voices, the methodologies involved are the project that seeks to address housing instability not only through traditional academic lenses, but by integrating lived experiences, cultural insights, and innovative approaches. The plan is to intentionally gather people with different backgrounds to ensure that the problem is examined from all the angles, with each individual contributing their unique knowledge to create a comprehensive solution. In forming the team, the approach will deliberately combine traditional academic research with public health insights, art driven methodologies, government frameworks, and indigenous knowledge. This combination is expected to open up new possibilities and enable creation of solutions that are not just innovative, but also grounded in real world realities. Each discipline is anticipated to contribute something critical. Public health experts will focus on community well being, while arts practitioners will highlight the importance of storytelling and policy advocacy. Indigenous leaders will ensure that the cultural practices and traditional knowledge shape the entire process. A key element of the team will be including voices with lived experiences. These individuals will directly inform the research priorities and help root outcomes on the real world challenges. Lived experience leaders will not just be participants, they will be partners in every phase of the project. This means that people with first-hand experience of housing and stability will play an active role in shaping the research agenda, defining key questions, and driving the focus of the work. Cultural sensitivity will be embedded in every step by involving Indigenous leaders from the outset. Community sharing circles and culturally tailored methodologies are planned to be central to the project. From the very beginning, the project will aim to respect and integrate cultural perspectives of the communities involved, especially Indigenous peoples who have historically been excluded from much of the research process. This project aspires to be a blueprint of how complex issues can be approached collaboratively and inclusively. It aims to show that embracing diversity in research teams, the solutions developed can be more robust and impactful and equitable. So here are some list of partners we have mentioned that brings this diverse perspective. Moving to the next, let's talk about EDI and research design, a critical step where your commitment to equity and inclusivity embedded in the very structure of your study. Thoughtful research design doesn't just focus on the what of your research, but also on who and how. Start by crafting inclusive research questions. This question should move beyond generalizations that assume a homogeneous group. Instead, they should reflect the diversity of populations your research aims to impact. This means asking questions that explore how different demographic groups experiences the issue you are studying. For, for instance, are there specific barriers faced by particular groups? Are the outcomes uniform, or do they vary based on factors like race, gender, or ability? Another key consideration is intersectionality. People don't exist in isolated categories. They experience the world through intersection of their identities such as race, gender, socioeconomic status, and disability. Your research design should account for this overlaps. Clearly outlining your methodology addresses intersectionality ensures that your study captures the complexity of real world experiences rather than oversimplifying them. For projects involving Indigenous communities, integrating Indigenous knowledge systems is essential. This means respecting and incorporating the worldviews, values, and the practices. Following the OCAP principles, by the way, OCAP stands for ownership, control, access, and possession, ensures that Indigenous communities retain agency over how the knowledge and the data are used. This fosters trust and guarantees that these communities directly benefit from your research. To make this practical, let's consider an example. Imagine you're studying the impact of technology on job satisfaction. A traditional approach might look like a single broad group, but an inclusive design asks deeper questions. How does access to technology differ for people based on socioeconomic background or disability status? Are there unique barriers to technology adoption that women or racialized groups encounter? By tailoring your research to these questions, you uncover richer and more nuanced insights that might otherwise go unnoticed. Ultimately, embedding EDI into research design isn't just the best practice, it's also how we ensure our work is relevant, ethical, transformative for those diverse communities we aim to serve. This is where impactful research truly begins. Another research project from Canada Research Center is the intersectional approach in nursing care assignment. This project focuses on exploring the implementation of and effectiveness of nursing care assignment tools at West Nipissing General Hospital. The goal is to optimize the scope of practice for both RNs and RPNs, ensuring that the care is delivered more effectively and equitably and that to meet the diverse needs of the patients. We will use an intersectional framework in our study, which means that we will examine how multiple identities such as race, gender, and disability overlap and influence healthcare outcomes. This approach ensures that our research addresses the needs and experiences for everyone involved. This will allow us to identify any patterns or disparities. For instance, do nurses from a certain racial or gender groups experience tools differently? By using this intersectional approach, we are not only ensuring that our research is inclusive, but also that it helps inform more equitable healthcare practices. Ultimately, our goal is to create a fairer, more effective tools that benefit both nursing staff across all the backgrounds. Moving towards the next, let's now dive into how EDI principles can integrate into your data collection and methodology. This is a crucial stage where inclusivity directly impacts the quality and relevance of your research outcomes. First, consider your sampling techniques. To truly understand diverse perspectives, your sampling strategies must intentionally include participants from underrepresented groups. This means This might mean adopting stratified sampling methods to ensure proportional representation, or even oversampling certain populations to amplify voices that are often marginalized. By doing so, you're not just gathering data, you're creating a space for those voices to be heard and valued. Next, let's think about accessibility of your research tools. Whether you're using surveys, interview guides, or other instruments, they must be designed to accommodate a wide range of participants. For instance, are your materials available in multiple languages? Have you ensured that your surveys are accessible to participants with visual impairments? If interviews are the part of your methodology, could you provide interpreters to accommodate language barriers? This adjustments not only make your research inclusive, but also increases its reliability by ensuring that no one is unintentionally excluded. The setting in which you could conduct your research is equally important. Inclusive research settings are more than just convenience. They are about ensuring that participants feel safe, respected, and able to engage fully. This could mean offering transportation support, providing childcare during the focus groups, or choosing locations that are wheelchair accessible. A setting that accommodates diverse needs is one where participants can focus on contributing their perspectives without unnecessary barriers. Let me give you an example. Imagine you're conducting a survey on educational and attainment. If your survey is only in English, you may unintentionally exclude non English speakers, leaving their experiences and perspective out of your findings. Now, contrast this with offering a survey in multiple languages. Suddenly, your data becomes more representative and meaningful. Similarly, if you are studying about public spaces and choose an interview location that lacks a wheelchair ramp, you are you have created an unnecessary obstacle for your participants. Thoughtful planning, such as ensuring fully accessible venues and providing supports like sign language interpreters, can make a significant difference. By applying these principles to your data collection and methodology, you not only uphold the values of EDI, but also enhance the quality, relevance, and impact of your research. These efforts ensure that your findings are truly reflect the diversity of the populations you aim to serve and contribute more meaningfully into equitable solutions. We are working on a project designed to understand the experiences of newcomers in North Bay, focuses on why they settle and what impacts their retention in the community. To integrate EDI principles in data collection and methodology for this project, the research team will apply several strategies to ensure the process is inclusive and engages participants in an equitable manner. The research team will adopt a stratified sampling method to ensure equitable representation from a range of newcomers groups, including both international immigrants and domestically migrating Canadians into North Bay. This approach will encompass individuals from various regions, for example, Middle East, Africa, Asia, as well as Canadians who have relocated from other provinces or territories. The sample will also include people with diverse immigration statuses, such as permanent residents, refugees, international students, and domestic migrants from different demographic groups, such as varying age ranges, genders, and family structures. This strategy will ensure that the data captures a wide spectrum of newcomers' experiences, whether they are international immigrants or individuals who have moved to North Bay from other parts of Canada. Additionally, to amplify the voices of underrepresented subgroups, the teams will oversample specific groups like female newcomers, international students, or individuals who have relocated from regions of Canada with fewer or lesser opportunities. This will ensure that the unique challenges and experiences of these groups are adequately reflected. We recognize that it's crucial to use accessible research tools to engage participants equitably. For this, the project for this project, we have developed both online and paper surveys to cater the different needs. The online surveys will be hosted on a platform like Qualtrics, but for those who may not have access to digital devices, we have ensured that paper versions are also available. Additionally, we have considered cultural sensitivity into the design of the surveys. For instance, the survey includes questions that reflect diverse cultural backgrounds and experiences to ensure that all participants' voices are being heard. The survey instruments and interview guides will be designed with accessibility in mind. In cases where language barriers exist, interpreters will be available to assist during the focus groups or interviews. Additionally, for participants with visual impairments, the survey will be made accessible in an accessible formats such as like large print or screen readers compatible text. This measures will ensure that all participants, regardless of language, background, or ability to have an or ability will have an equal opportunity to participate and share their experiences. Let's now turn into data analysis through an EDI lens. The analysis stage is where biases can come more apparent, and it's crucial to ensure that while we are considering EDI principles into this phase to achieve truly equitable outcomes, first let's think about disintegrating your data. This means breaking your data by key demographic factors such as race, gender, income level, and others that are relevant to your research. Disintegrating allows you to highlight the experiences of underrepresented and marginalized groups, ensuring their voices and perspectives aren't hidden by aggregated data. For example, when you look at overall trends, you might miss the fact that women in your study are facing unique challenges compared to men. By disaggregating the data, you are able to draw more precise, nuanced conclusions about how different groups are being impacted by the issue at the hand. Next, we need to we need to be mindful about biases and data interpretation. While analyzing your data, it is important to engage team members from diverse backgrounds. They can help you identify and challenge assumptions, ensuring a more balanced interpretation of the findings. A team with varied perspective is less likely to overlook critical insights that could be influenced by a systematic biases. This kind of approach leads to more equitable and thorough analysis and ultimately better research outcomes. Let me give you an example. Suppose you're analyzing data on workplace productivity. If you look only at the data as a whole, you might overlook gender based disparities, particularly in industries where one gender is underrepresented. However, by breaking the data down by gender, you can see how men and women might experience productivity challenges differently and make informed decisions based on those insights. By incorporating the strategies, disaggregating your data, and addressing potential biases, you ensure that your analysis is truly inclusive. This helps you prevent important differences from being overlooked and contributes more accurately with impactful conclusions that reflect the diverse experiences of affected by your research topic. Moving to the next, let's talk about knowledge mobilization and dissemination, which is all about how we share our research findings in a way that effectively reach and benefit drivers' communities. A key component of this is adopting inclusive dissemination strategies. This means that we need to think beyond traditional academic channels and use accessible methods to share our findings. And in addition to publishing in academic journals, consider sharing your research in community newsletters or collaborating with local organizations to host workshops. It is also a good idea to create simplified summaries of your research in multiple languages, ensuring that your work is understood by a broader audience. The goal here is to make sure that knowledge generated is not just confined to academia, but is shared in ways that are relevant to understandable to diverse groups. Another important consideration is engaging marginalized communities as active stakeholders in the dissemination process. It's crucial that these communities are not just the subjects of the research, but also partners in how the research is communicated. Involving them ensures that the research benefits the communities it is intended to assist. This community stakeholders can help communicate the findings in culturally relevant ways, making the research more accessible and impactful. For example, let's say you're working on a project that examines the impact of climate change on agriculture. If you rely solely on academic journals, you might miss the farmers who would benefit the most from your findings. Instead, consider hosting community workshops or webinars where you can explain the research using accessible language. Another effective approach could be creating infographics that summarizes key findings, which can be shared online and translated into different languages to make the information even more accessible. One of our projects focused on capturing the experiences of parents navigating perinatal mood and anxiety disorders during the COVID-19 pandemic to ensure findings benefited those who affected the most. We implemented knowledge mobilization and dissemination strategies that reached diverse and marginalized communities. We utilized several inclusive methods to share our research findings. First, we organized a community based forum to reach a wider audience, including parents, healthcare providers, and community organizations. This event was designed to use simple, accessible language to make sure all the participants could understand and engage with the content. In addition to the workshops, we created summaries and visual materials like infographics. A key component of our dissemination strategy was the use of photo voice technique, which allowed participants to capture their experiences through photos and accompanying narratives. These photos and stories were used to communicate the lived experiences of the parents during pandemic. This technique allowed us to portray their stories in an authentic and a powerful way. We combined the photo voice methodology with a documentary. A documentary was created to share this visual and narrative findings more widely, bringing to life the experiences of the parents during the pandemic. The documentary served as a powerful tool to communicate this lived experiences to a broader audience. In this way, we have not only shared the participants' stories, but also created a valuable networking opportunity for service providers to deepen their understanding of the challenges parents face and incorporating these insights into their own practice. Moving next, let's talk about EDI and budget and resources. It's essential that your budget reflects your commitment to EDI. A well planned budget can ensure that the EDI principles are fully integrated into research process. First, consider compensation for community partners. If your research involves members or representatives from marginalized groups, it's crucial to compensate them fairly for their time and contributions. This not only demonstrates the respect for their expertise, but also helps prevent the exploitation of these communities. Recognizing the value of their input, whether it's through financial compensation or other forms of acknowledgement, fosters an environment of trust and mutual respect. Another important aspect is budgeting for accessibility. When planning your budget, ensure that it includes provisions for accessibility measures. This can cover things like sign language interpreters, translation services, and travel stipends for the participants from marginalized communities. Accessibility should not be an afterthought, but a key consideration in your budget. By accounting for these measures upfront, you make sure that your research is more inclusive and it ensures that everyone can participate fully. For example, if your research involves working with Indigenous communities, it is vital to allocate funds to compensate elders or community members for their time and contributions. This is particularly important while working with cultural knowledge holders. By compensating them, you show that you value their knowledge, not only as a resource, but also in an ethical and financial sense. By embedding this EDI principles into your budget, you ensure that these resources needed to make your research inclusive and accessible are prioritized. This helps build more equitable and respectful relationships throughout the research process. Let's look into a practical example of how these concepts come together in a real project. One of our applied research projects, the Older Adult Community Engagement Project funded by CIHR, focused on understanding how community engagement initiatives can better serve older adults, also from Indigenous and marginalized communities. In June and July of 2023, Canadore College Research Center facilitated a series of community forums in North Bay and Parry Sound. This forum gathered diverse groups, including community partners, individuals with lived experiences, service providers, and students to explore challenges and opportunities related to older adults in the community. Participants engaged in discussions and activities, including one guided by the Medicine Wheel teachings, facilitated by Canadore's First People Center. The initiative aimed to identify gaps in services and supports for older adults and purpose driven community solutions. In collaboration with Mekana Consulting, an Indigenous consultancy, the project sought to incorporate Indigenous perspective and cultural knowledge into design and the delivery of these engagement initiatives. They helped us engage Indigenous perspective on how older adults interact with and benefit from community engagement. McKenna's expertise was invaluable in guiding the project's approach, ensuring that it was culturally sensitive and inclusive. Importantly, this cost was forecasted early in the project's planning stages and integrated into our budget while applying for the grant. This proactive approach underscored our commitment to equity, ensuring that the inclusion of Indigenous partners was not only meaningful but also appropriately resourced. Fair compensation is not just about numbers on an invoice, it's about respect. By compensating Indigenous consultants like McKenna appropriately, we acknowledge the value of the knowledge and contributions. While Indigenous consultants are treated as equal partners in research, it helps build trust, mutual trust, and respect. This is essential, especially in research involving culturally sensitive topics. Without fair compensation, we risk exploitation where the time and expertise of marginalized groups are undervalued. This is why it's critical that our budget reflects not only on the logistical costs of the research, but also on the human costs of gathering and applying knowledge. Knowledge holders such as elders bringing critical insights that helps us understand cultural practices, traditions, community needs. But this knowledge is not free. It must be treated with the same respect and value as any other form of expertise. By, by compensating consultants for their time and contributions, we demonstrated our commitment to cultural respect and recognition of Indigenous sovereignty in a knowledge sharing. Budgeting for this kind of engagement also ensures that you're not just including Indigenous voices in our research, but also making room for them in a way that is ethically sound and respect for communities. Moving to ethical considerations in EDI, which plays a crucial role ensuring that are embedded in the research proposals. In fact, inclusive research is ethical research. A key component of this is informed consent. Your consent process must be fully accessible to all participants. For individuals with limited literacy skills or who speak a language other than one of your forms are written in, it's essential to offer consent forms in an easy to read formats. This ensures that the participants understand what they're consenting to. Moreover, if needed, ensure that interpreters are available to facilitate the consent process, making it transparent and understandable as possible. In addition, cultural sensitivity is paramount when it comes to ethical approvals. This is particularly true for research involving Indigenous populations. Some projects may require community based ethical approvals alongside institution ones. It's important to allocate sufficient time in your project timelines for these processes to ensure that you respect cultural protocols. Failing to account for this could delay your project, but more importantly, it could signal a lack of respect for the communities you're working with. For example, if your research involves collecting sensitive data, such as information on race or gender identity, it's vital to ensure that your consent forms are clear, concise, and easy to understand. For participants with low literacy skills or those who are non-native speakers, offering simplified versions of these consent documents are crucial. You may also want to explain the process verbally with the help of an interpreter or to ensure that the participants have a full understanding of what they're consenting to. By incorporating this ethical considerations into your research, you ensure that your work is not only compliant with institutional requirements, but also deeply respectful of diverse communities involved. Moving to the final one, let's discuss about measuring and reporting on EDI impact. After your project begins, it's essentially to continuously monitor and assess the impact of EDI initiatives to ensure that they are having the desired effect. First, it's important to track EDI outcomes. You should develop specific metrics that allows you to measure the success of EDI initiatives. This could involve accessing the diversity of research participants and evaluating how underrepresented groups benefit from the project's results. This metrics should not only be reported in the final report, but also integrated into ongoing evaluation of the project. By doing so, you ensure that EDI aspects of the projects are being properly tackled and the findings are accessible to those who are most impacted. Another critical element is continuous reflection. It is essential to consider to consistently evaluate your EDI practices throughout the research lifecycle. This includes gathering feedback from your research team, research partners and participants to determine whether your EDI objectives are actually being achieved. By making these adjustments into your feedback, you ensure that your EDI initiatives are evolving and becoming more effective over time. This reflects a true commitment to improvement and adaptation. For example, in a project aimed at increasing technology among seniors, it's crucial to track how different groups, such as low income seniors, rural seniors, or seniors from immigrant backgrounds, engage with technology. By tracking these groups, you can identify disparities or successes and adoption rates. Reporting these results, broken down by demographic groups, can help you understand whether the certain populations benefited more than the others and shed light on reasons behind these outcomes. This level of detail helps to reveal the nuances of the project and ensures that the impact is being fairly distributed. By consistently measuring and reporting on this EDI outcomes, you demonstrate commitment to transparency and accountability while ensuring that the project benefits all communities involved. As we wrap up, let's reflect on why EDI matters in research. It's more than just a box to tick. It's a mindset shift that drives innovation and ensures that the work we do is relevant, impactful, and meaningful for everyone it touches. By implementing EDI isn't without its challenges. One challenge is tokenism, which occurs when individuals from underrepresented groups are included superficially without meaningful engagement or empowerment. In applied research, this might look like selecting participants from diverse communities solely to meet funding criteria or to enhance the appearance of inclusivity without fully incorporating their voices, needs, or lived experiences into the project designs or outcomes. To address this, we need to ensure that diversity is not just about representation, but about true participation. This means actively engaging with communities, co creating research objectives, and ensuring that the contributions shape the project in meaningful ways. Another challenge is operational complexity of implementing EDI. Building truly diverse team takes efforts. While it's accommodating varying accessibility needs, balancing different perspectives, or ensuring equitable decision making. These complexities can be daunting, but they are also solvable by fostering open communication, setting clear expectations, and providing support structures like training and mentorship. We can build teams that thrive on diversity. Finally, communication barriers can arise in diverse teams with community stakeholders. Differences in language, cultural norms, and even expectations about research processes can lead to misunderstanding or misalignment. Overcoming this requires patience, adaptability, and tools like plain language resources, community liaisons, or regularly check ins to ensure clarity and alignment throughout the project lifecycle. EDI isn't just about adding value to our research, it's about doing that truly serves the communities it aims to benefit, but it requires commitment. It's not just a tech checkbox or a single action, it's an ongoing journey of reflection, collaboration, and adaptation. So let's take what we have discussed today and move forward with a purpose. By embedding EDI into every phase of our work, we can ensure that our research doesn't just meet the needs of today, but paves the way for more inclusive, equitable, and impactful future. Thank you.
Thanks, Sid. You can probably stop the recording too. Okay, for anybody who's left here, if there's any questions that you might have, please feel free to put them in the chat or raise your hand. I'm aware that it's 12:47,